Hey everybody, Suzanne here with Caregiver Haven, and today we're talking about two small organs that deserve a standing ovation, and they are your kidneys. And they're about the size of your fist, and they're tucked neatly under the ribs, and they quietly are working 24/7 to filter out the toxins, balance the fluids, and keep your bones and your blood healthy. But here's the thing. Most seniors and even many caregivers have no idea how easily the kidneys can be damaged by everyday foods. And once the kidney damage starts, it's often irreversible. So, if you care for your aging parent or if you are a senior, stay with me. And by the end of this video, you'll know which foods are silently stressing the kidneys and what to do instead, and how to help yourself or your loved one live longer, healthier, and more comfortable. Let's face it, none of us want to go on dialysis because we have failed kidneys. So there's several helpful links and resources in the description below. So go ahead and check that out. They're from the National Kidney Foundation and the American Kidney Foundation, and the things I mentioned here you'll find in the description. Okay, when people talk about health, it's all about protecting your heart, which is right, and it's also about watching your sugar. That's right too. But what about the kidneys? They often get ignored, and they really shouldn't in today's world of processed foods. The truth is, kidneys are the unsung heroes, and they keep everything else running. They filter about 50 gallons of blood every day, and they control your blood pressure, and they make red blood cells, and they keep your bones strong. Now, here's what you need to know. As you or your loved one ages, the kidney function is going to naturally decline. That means the same foods that maybe were fine for you at age 40 might be very harmful at age 75, and especially in the 80s and 90s. And if you or your senior already have high blood pressure or diabetes, which many people do, then the kidneys are already working overtime. So think of this video as your gentle wake-up call. We're not cutting out joy, and we're not going to, tell you can't eat all these foods. We're just cutting out the silent damage in your kidneys. So let's start with the big one. The big one is salt. Most caregivers and most seniors already know that there is too much sodium in our American diet, and this raises blood pressure. But what we don't realize is how it hurts the kidneys. How does salt affect the kidneys? Well, when it raises blood pressure, the first thing I want you to think about kidneys is kidneys. Think of them as a colander. Think of you cooking spaghetti, and then you bring out the strainer or the colander, and you dump the water and the spaghetti into the colander, right? And you're getting rid of the water, and you're keeping the spaghetti. Okay, think of kidneys like that. Think of them as a strainer. What they're doing is they're straining the blood. And what they want to do is they want to take out the bad stuff and let us pee that out. And then they want to keep the good stuff and let it keep going in the blood. All right, because they want to keep the blood healthy, right? So it can get to the tissues and keep the tissues healthy. All right, so this colander or this strainer, now I want you to take this strainer and I want you to get a pressure washer. And with high blood pressure, or a pressure washer that's really high blood pressure, and I want you to blast that blood or the water in the spaghetti through that strainer. I want you to blast it as hard as you can. That's what high blood pressure does to the kidneys. So you got this really high blood pressure smashing these kidneys over and over and over again, just smashing this colander over again. What do you think that's going to do to the strainer or the colander? It's going to start to make it weaker and weaker. It's going to open up bigger holes. It's going to just keep causing damage. So we don't want this high-powered pressure cooker or pressure washer, and we don't want this blood going 90 miles an hour through these kidneys, okay? And to carry on, it's just not the shaker on the table. It's hiding all this sodium, all this stuff that's making high blood pressure, that's just pounding these kidneys. It's hiding in canned soup and frozen meals and salad dressings and condiments. It's everywhere. And according to CDC, 75% of sodium Americans eat comes from our processed foods. And restaurant meals, don't even get me started on how much sodium's in that stuff. So even if you think, oh, mom doesn't use much salt, she's probably still getting more than her kidneys can handle. How much salt do the kidneys have to eliminate, right? How much salt is getting through and raising the blood pressure? So here's a quick rule. Aim for 2,300, that's 2,300 milligrams or less per day. And that's about 1 teaspoon of salt, just 1 teaspoon, no more. So when grocery shopping, look for no salt added or low sodium labels. And instead of flavoring with salt, try herbs and garlic and lemon and pepper. Try different things. There's so many good spices out there. And you'll find great guidance at thekidney.org. And you've got the link in the description for that. So now let's talk about sugar. Sugar, the sweet troublemaker, okay? Sugar isn't just bad for teeth or waistlines. It's a major player in kidney damage. Here's how. Not only does too much sugar raise blood sugar and therefore blood pressure, and both hurt the tiny little vessels in those kidneys, all right? But let's take it one step further. Have you ever eaten cotton candy? Well, cotton candy is nothing but what? It's whipped sugar, right? If you ever had a little toy at home when you were growing up, it was where you pour sugar in the middle and then the thing would whip around and make you some cotton candy, okay? It's pure sugar. How sticky is that cotton candy? How sticky is sugar? Now you've got sugar in the blood. Imagine the colander again. You got the colander, you got the blood going through, and it's gunking up the kidneys. Here's these little holes, and it's sticking. The blood is sticking to these holes. How well are the kidneys going to work then when they're all gunked up with sugar? And sugar isn't hiding just in places like dessert. Bread has sugar, ketchup has sugar, salad dressings, tons of sugar. So even if they say like a healthy granola bar and 20 grams of protein, check the sugar. It's full of sugar. And the American Kidney Fund has found that drinking 2 or more sodas a day, diet or regular, increases your risk for chronic kidney disease. Now, I do have a link to 52 names of sugars you won't recognize, because what the food manufacturers want to do is they don't want to put the word sugar or fructose, because everybody's caught on to that now. So there's 52 different names of sugars, sweeteners that they can put in their food. All of them are sugar, all of them are sticky, all of them are bad for the kidneys, gunking them up, but they put them in there. And I've got a handout for you that shows you those, so that when you go to the store and you look at the labels, I want you to start identifying those, okay? So even if grandma says, I only drink 1 Diet Coke a day, they're still hitting the kidneys. So encourage water with lemon or mint or unsweetened tea instead, maybe decaffeinated tea, decaffeinated coffee. And yes, a splash of flavor is fine. Just skip those sugary syrups. They're horrible for you. And you can learn more about that from the Kidney Fund, FUND.org, and I'll put that in the description. Okay, now, here's a surprising one that many people don't think about, and that is high protein diets. And you think, oh no, Suzanne, I can't have a high protein diet. I'm trying to lose weight. Well, protein is all the fashion now, right? The rave. So protein is good, but too much of it, especially meat and dairy, can overwhelm the kidneys. That's because every time we eat protein, our kidneys filter out the byproducts. They have to work overtime. And for seniors with reduced kidney function, that's like running a marathon every day. Protein is a large molecule. It's a large molecule. So I want you to think of that colander again. And now I want you to think of really big rocks or large molecules. And we're trying to squeeze them through those kidneys, right? We're trying to get them through. Nope. They're just going to pound bigger holes into the colander and stretch it out. It's very difficult. Once these holes get too big, what happens? Everything goes through at that time, right? And nothing gets filtered out. So you don't need to go 100% vegetables or anything like that. But just try making a diet with plant-based proteins instead of meat and dairy proteins. They're just gentler on the kidneys. And the National Institute of Diabetes and Digestive and Kidney Diseases explains this, that balancing protein intake helps slow kidney decline, especially in older adults. So when you check with your doctor or the senior is checking with the doctor, and there's any kind of kidney failure or any beginning of kidney dysfunction, and you want to go on a high protein diet, you really need to check with your physician on that to make sure that that is going to be safe. And kidney function is a blood test that all physicians do. They do it at least once a year. It's very easy for them to do. They're always checking your kidneys. So you don't have to worry about asking them to order the test. They would be ordering it anyway. Just make sure you have good kidney function and you're not going to stay on a high meat or dairy protein diet for very long. You just do it enough to lose weight, and then you go back to eating, other things. And don't forget, plant-based proteins are the best. Okay, next, let's talk about caffeine. Well, we think that one's tricky because coffee can be fine in moderation. We know that, but too much caffeine does what? It increases blood pressure. And by increasing the blood pressure, as we talked about, getting that pressure washer going through those kidneys again, it's going to stress the kidneys, the colander, the strainer. So many seniors are already on a bunch of medications like diuretics and water pills. So the caffeine adds another layer of dehydration because caffeine tends to dehydrate us, especially those diet sodas. You drink a diet soda and what do you have to do? Go to the bathroom. So encourage your loved one to drink plenty of water throughout the day. And if they resist because of bathroom trips, try small, steady sips instead of big gulps. I like to always recommend leaving water all around the house. Just leave little glasses of water, almost shot glasses of water around the house so they can drink. Mild dehydration is going to harm the kidneys over time. And people ask me all the time if they should add electrolytes to water. Well, first check with your doctor. If you're eating good solid foods and you're not sweating on a football field on a hot college day, why do you need to add electrolytes? Think of it this way. If your kidneys had a choice of just pure water or water with electrolytes, which now they have to filter, or they have to gunk up the colander, what do you prefer? You prefer pure water. Just let the kidneys filter everything out. Don't add more to it with electrolytes and all this other stuff. So here's another modern problem we have today. It's ultra-processed foods and something called GMOs. GMOs are genetically modified organisms. These are the plants that get modified so that pesticides, the pests, the insects don't attack them. They're modified so that they grow better, they grow faster, they're not affected by the weather as much, especially if it's going to be a dry growing season. So a lot of what's in boxes or cans or even drive-through bags at those fast restaurants are genetically modified. And there's corn, soy, and sugar beets and all of that. And I'll tell you, Europe has eliminated GMOs. They just don't even want them in their diet. They feel that they're dangerous. They don't know the effects of them yet. But even without that concern, most processed foods are packed with sodium and phosphorus additives and unhealthy fats, and these are all kidney stressors. So the safest bet is to stick with fresh foods you can identify. Go to the outside of the grocery store, the fruits, the vegetables, the grains, the lean proteins, and limit prepackaged items. And when in doubt, check the label for non-GMO project verified. Or check to make sure it says USDA organic. That's USDA organic. Both of these are regulated in the United States. However, don't be fooled by just the word organic. A lot of food manufacturers put the word organic on everything. You see organic, here's an organic hairbrush, here's an organic waste paper basket, here's an organic piece of paper, okay? It's got to say USDA organic. Otherwise, they're just throwing a marketing term on that. It means nothing to you, and you might even be paying more money for it. It's got to say USDA organic, because that is regulated by the government to protect you. So let's bring all of this home. What does this mean for you? We've talked about the sugar, we've talked about the salt, we've talked about the caffeine, we've talked about the GMOs, the genetic modified organisms. You don't have to panic, and you don't have to overhaul your whole diet if you're a senior, and caregivers, you don't have to do that either for your senior. Just start small. Just replace one high sodium meal with a homemade one, or swap a soda for water. Choose smaller portions of meat and add more vegetables. And talk to your senior's doctor about a simple kidney function test. Make sure you understand what the results are. It's so inexpensive, and it catches problems early with the kidneys. Remember, once the kidneys are damaged, the road back is hard. We can do it, but preventing that damage, it gets to a point sometimes where we can't go back. So today, starting today, learn about your foods and protect those kidneys. And I'll leave I'll leave the resources and the things I've talked about in the description for you, especially those 52 sugars that go by different names for you. But if this video helped you, please give it a thumbs up. Please subscribe for more education, and share it with another family who's juggling with the same challenges you are. I'm Suzanne, and from one caregiver to another, you've got this. Stay kind to yourself and those kidneys. Take care. We'll talk soon. Bye-bye.